You have a fear of jumping off the side of the swimming pool. Well, you get to a point where that becomes boring, and I want to jump off now the low dive. And after a while, that becomes boring, and you get to the high dive. As I challenge the fear reduces by some percentage.
I one time had a manager come up to me. Well, I don't want to do anything to upset that person. BS. You don't want to upset you.
Correct.
Absolutely you need to have more courage.
It could be the smallest of things that we're not being consistent about maintaining our vehicles, maintaining our facial hair. Do I have the courage to walk up myself as a leader and a manager to do that? If he's willing to not wear his hat or not tuck his shirt in with me, what is he possibly doing in the home with a client?
Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to Wisdom of Wrench podcast, otherwise known as the WOW podcast. My name is Kevin Comerford, and boy, am I excited today. I am fired up about a 3-part series that we are starting today. The 3-part series that we're starting today is around the 3 talents exceptional leaders must continue to develop in a growing organization. Let me say that one more time. The 3 talents exceptional leaders must continue to develop in a growing organization. What are those 3 talents that we're going to dig into? Number 1 is have courage. Number 2 is take responsibility. And number 3 is build fellowship. We're going to dig into each of those concepts over the course of these next 3 episodes. And boy, am I excited. I'm really excited. More than anything, why I'm excited is because of the 2 people I have in studio with me. One of them you're very familiar with, Amanda Meyer.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. Hi, Amanda.
Always excited to be here.
Yeah. Great to have you. Great to be talking about this topic in particular, because this is one that I know you and I, you've experienced, I've experienced, we've experienced it together. We're going to dig in and just have a ton of fun with this. The other gentleman that's in studio, his name is Ray Diaz. Ray is a special human being in my life. Ray and I have worked together for over 30 years. Anybody that can put up with me for 30 years, holy cow, your name either has to be Carolyn Comerford, my wife, or Ray Diaz. Thank goodness. Love them both. Ray and I have worked together for 30 years. He is like a brother to me. He is 100% the glue that has held this company, the company that we started together. He has held it together. He was a founding team member, as I said. He was the COO of our company. He was my right-hand man. He was the guy that really helped manage me and my emotions. He was, as my great friend Pace Link says, he is reasonable Ray. He is reasonable Ray. And everybody I know from the small business groups that I lead knows Ray as a legend. And I lead a small business group of about 30 entrepreneurs once a month. And they always talk about, because I reference Ray a lot in that group, they always talk about and say, I need a Ray. So to talk about this topic with this man, what a gift. So welcome, Ray Diaz. How are you, buddy?
Thank you, Mr. Comerford. I am well.
Yeah.
Appreciate being here. Appreciate hanging out with you, and excited about my third podcast with you.
Yeah, I'm excited about your first podcast as well. I think you're going to, like everything you do, Ray, you're going to knock it out of the park.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So, but I do want you to share a little bit about your background,
Sure.
if you would, briefly, with our viewers, so they know where you started in the restaurant business and how you evolved into the HVAC business. So let's give a little bit of an intro.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, it's tough to be brief after 70 years, but I'll do that. Yeah. So I was born right here in the Tri-Valley area, 10 miles from here, Eden Hospital, Castro Valley, 1955, and grew up in the area. I got 5 brothers, 2 sisters, married. We have my wife and I have 6 grandkids between us, and I grew up in the restaurant business 20 years, from washing pots and pans to being the general manager to owning and running restaurants, and then after 20 years of that, decided to get into something different, get into sales, and ended up my first job in sales was HVAC, and I stuck with it and had a small business with my brother at the time, which you know about, and then met you and your dad in 1994, and
Wow.
that was the beginning of our journey. That I always appreciate. God, knowing your dad and being with your mom and dad at first, and then with you shortly after that, and then kicking off Service Champions in 2003, and here we are all these years later, all these exciting adventures later, and it's been fantastic. So I'm just excited, and like you always say, we're just getting started.
I agree, Ray. I agree. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
So as Ray said, we worked in my parents' company before they took their company public. And then Ray and I worked together in the public company together for 6 years until we were ready to go and do it ourselves in 2003. And boy, what a ride it's been.
It has been.
What a ride it's
That
been.
faithful phone call
Yes.
that one night.
Yes, and talk about courage, which we're going to talk about here in a second. We needed that right at the get-go. You needed it in particular because you had a great job and you were going actually into the abyss. With me. But anyway, let's dig into this first talent
Absolutely.
that every leader must continue to develop, and that is the talent of all other talents, which is to have courage. I'm going to read the definition, and here it is. It is mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, or withstand danger, fear, or difficulties. To have courage is to have the mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulties. Well, as I said, Ray, we certainly, right out of the gate when we first started Service Champions, there was some courage that you had to face right out of the get-go. I was leaving to start a company, and I said, Ray, I want you to come with me. And you were all set in a very nice, comfortable job. Tell us about the courage that you needed.
Well, like you say, I had a great job. Yeah, you left the company. You left the company because for your own reasons, and then we had that discussion, and the decision I had to make was I going to leave a really well-paying job with a great bonus program and a big company with a lot of great benefits and run off with Kevin Comerford down the road. Well, like I've said in the past, I didn't really think twice about it. I knew that I had courage, yes, but I also had faith and my relationship with you and what we had achieved together in our past. So yes, it took courage. It was that butterflies making the decision, but when we were off and running, So I had a lot of faith as well.
Something you said there that I want to touch on right out of the gate. You said you had faith. Whether it is with your spirituality or the people you believe in, there's something that comes up in my mind a lot, especially with my spirituality, which is doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Doubt I've always looked at as a good thing, though. Because without doubt, there would then be no need for faith.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So doubt, did Jonah really get in the mouth of that whale? Really? Did that really happen? Like, that's where I doubt stuff. And I doubt certain stories in the Bible, but without doubt, there's no need for faith. And so you shared that with me, that you had faith. My guess is you might have had a little doubt. There might have been a little inkling, because the doubt to me is always that little voice that can creep in. And then it's like, do I have faith? Right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have the courage to do it. And then I would say that also is the doubt, or maybe the fear and apprehension that's there. But I think without the fear and apprehension, it wouldn't be a big, important venture. It wouldn't be super important. It wouldn't be an important thing. I wasn't making a big decision if I didn't have that fear. So you knew it was a big deal, because the fear, the apprehension, the doubt absolutely was there. But I had a lot of confidence that we were going to make it happen. Yeah, it would be a lot of hard work. It'd be a long road to hoe, but I always had the confidence that we would do it. Always.
So right there, everybody, you're seeing right out of the gate why having a great, strong second in command, whether it's as a service manager, someone that you can rely on, or a call center agent, your right-hand person, because I'm a believer that everybody needs that right-hand person. Because what Ray just said there was, when I had doubt or I was lacking the courage, I always was able to look to you to help me. Always was able to look to you, and you always were that strength. You always were that rock. And so if you're in a leadership role, that right-hand person that you go to and you say, hey, I need you to be that loyal, because that's one of the traits, Ray, that I think you have more than anything, your loyalty, that loyal person that you can count on in your life, in your where maybe it's in your marriage. It's that right-hand person that you can count on, that gives you that strength, that gives you that feeling that, hey, I got it. We're going to get through it. And that's what you did for me.
Well, I think that comes from conviction. I feel once you're into something, once you've made a decision to go a direction, you got to go 100%. To have 1 foot out, 1 foot in, you're not going to achieve anything that way. So once there are times when I have to go back to fear and apprehension again. Once you get past that, so okay, I've made the decision. I'm going full bore in that direction. And that's I think where our relationship was always really strong was, I had my strength. You had your strengths. And I think we just melded really well together. So what you needed from me, I gave you, but what you gave me as well. So I think we played off of each other that way. And that's what made us, we always joke about, I was the hammer and you were out there kissing babies. I mean, so that was something that made us very successful, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can expand on that a little bit, because you might in your in the journey that maybe you have as a leader, Ray and I had played good cop, bad cop a lot, and and I've learned that with my wife. There are times where we've got to play good cop, bad cop, and it switches. It's not always one's not always good cop, one's not always bad cop, and what Ray is referring to when he says, Ray came in and Ray was the strong disciplinarian strength. And I was the guy that was, as Ray said, shaking hands, kissing babies. I always felt like my job as the leader of the department, the leader of the company, was I needed to be the sunshine and light.
Absolutely.
But in order for me to be the sunshine and light, I needed to have a right-hand person who could be the one that was going to toe the line, the one that was going to make sure people are following processes, that was going to be the one to make sure that I was in line, kept me in line. And you certainly did that.
That's interesting. I think this is a little bit of scope creep to our third podcast of building fellowship, but it's easier to have courage and develop courage when you have a great team around you. And I think you exemplify that a lot. In a lot of cases, you guys have a lot of stories that I've heard in my 11 years here. It no longer sounds impressive now that I have your 30 in front of me, Ray. But just the stories that I've heard that you guys have gone through, where you really have to have courage and fortitude to make decisions that are right for the company and for yourselves.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So we came out of the gate in 2003. Our business exploded. Ray and I took this company, and I really felt like we sled dogged this thing. We were two dogs that were just dragging this thing. We were come hell or high water. We were gonna make this thing work. We came out of the gate. We grew to $15 million in annual revenue within the first 4 years. Killed it. Did so well. But year 2, we had a big decision to make. We were just coming off of a year where we had done $8.4 million. This was our second full year. So 2005, our second full year. And we were faced with probably one of the courageous decisions that we had to make early on, which was we had 2 salespeople that were more interested in their own personal well-being, everything about themselves versus the health of the organization. One of the salesperson we had multiple complaints about, and I'm talking about 17. I had 17 documented complaints on the salesperson, and I wanted to do everything I could to keep the salesperson because they were doing $2 million of revenue. This other senior tech,
right.
So that back then we had a salesperson, we had a senior tech, and he also was doing $2 million of revenue selling. So those 2 individuals amounted to half of our revenue. And we were faced with a decision because I was scared as hell to take the step to terminate the salesperson. And you had to make the decision to suspend this other senior tech because of the way that he was behaving.
Exactly.
And boy, did that take courage. Overnight, we lost half of our revenue. We did it, though. We looked at each other in the face and we said, I said to you, Ray, Ray, reputation is more important than revenue. And one, it was reputation with our clients for the salesperson that I ended up having to terminate. 2, it was reputation with our staff.
With our team.
Team. And were we going to show them that type of behavior is acceptable around here?
Correct.
And I don't know if you want to talk about any of that.
Yeah, well, it was difficult on the technician side. It was a 2-pronged. So it was our reputation and also personal, because the situation that finally occurred was to somebody I knew personally. And so that really triggered at the end that, when somebody is operating in direct opposition of the culture and the core values of the organization, your team is going to see it too. Not just me as a leader. Your team sees that, and sometimes they see it before you do. And so they knew that these 2 people weren't always the best reflection of what the company was building. And so it was difficult, but I thought what was, and I know we'll talk about more, is, yeah, we had to do that. That took huge courage, and that happened. But it was just amazing how the rest of the team stepped up and the rest of the story, right? So
the rest of
the story.
There's always the rest of the story. And so that was 2005, where we finished the year at 8.4. Right at the end of 2005, beginning of 2006, that's when we terminated both of them.
Correct.
Both of them, like in a 2-month period. Revenue cut in half. Holy cow. The amazing thing is, Ray, like you said, the team stepped up and we actually finished the next year, 2006, at 11.3 million.
Still grew.
We still grew.
Yep.
In spite of the fact that we had just lopped off 4 million of our revenue. And you and I, the mantra that we picked up that we still use is that reputation is more important than revenue. Reputation in the community and reputation with our team members. I'll never forget that.
Never.
Yeah.
And today it's spawned into lose a client, lose a neighborhood. So make sure you're taking care of that client, because the client knows everybody in their neighborhood. And when we roll into a neighborhood, make sure our reputation is strong, because if it's not, we don't know what's going to happen when we drive out of that neighborhood and that neighbor talks to the home we were just at.
Yes. I love that. We're going to lose a neighborhood.
Yep.
We're going to lose a neighborhood if we treat that client bad.
Correct.
Versus losing that one client.
Correct. You don't lose the one client, you lose the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So.
And the courage that we had to take, because I will tell you, Ray, there's a ton of fear that I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you want to talk about that. Feel the fear, but it was something that I used to hear you say all the time.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, it means we're all going to feel fear all the time. It was something I learned years ago. I think I took a class on it, or I had some cassette tapes on that, a long time ago. But it always stuck to my mind because, and I use it a lot when I'm training with new technicians and salespeople and all, and managers, because, everybody has fear. Tom Hopkins used to say he has fear all the time going in front of, 10,000 people or whatever crowds he would get into. And he was asked, do you feel fear when you do that after all these years? He says, yeah, I always feel fear. How do you teach yourself to have those butterflies fly in formation? And I think that's what it is. We're always going to have the fear. How do you do that? And I always give the example to the team. You just got to continue to, whatever the fear is, you got to continue to drive yourself through that fear. And each time you drive yourself through the fear reduces by a percentage. And the more you do it, the more in repetition you do it. To teaching technicians, the more they role practice, which I hate to do, the more they do it, the more comfortable they become. And it's amazing when I do a class, when I get feedback, they said, God, we didn't get to do enough role practice, And I said, wow, they want to do more. Wow. So it's interesting. And I told you earlier, I says, another analogy I use is jumping off the side of a swimming pool. When I was young, jumping off the side of a swimming pool, you have a fear jumping off the side of the swimming pool. You're small, it's new. Well, you get to a point where that becomes boring. And I want to jump off another low dive. And after a while, that becomes boring. That fear goes away, and you get to the high dive. I also said, never really made it to the platform. But that's, again, as I challenge the fear reduces by some percentage. And I think that's getting your butterflies to fly in formation.
Yeah.
I kind of want to pull us around to something that you said, which is the decision to terminate had to do with our reputation with the clients, but also our reputation with our internal team members. Mm-hmm. And I know, even though I'm a higher level manager now, many of the decisions I make these days have to do with the message I'm sending my internal team more than externally. As simple as the fears that most people will probably face have to do with, I can't let go of those call center agents because it's almost summer. I'm worried about letting go of those dispatchers because of, the time of year, the number of techs we're planning on hiring. I don't want to let go of my techs because we're about to enter busy season. But I think the reality is that when we don't make those decisions, we severely damage our reputation internally.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think we damage it internally?
I think when you fail to take action, you're sending the message that the behavior is okay, right? That's the basic of it. But what it really does is it demoralizes your top performers, the people that are following the process, the people who are performing for you every day. You're now setting what the new bar is, and it's not going up when you fail to take action. It goes down.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And they're not always big decisions. They're the small little decisions and actions I have to take every day. I say this all the time. Am I willing, have the courage just to make sure one of our technicians isn't wearing a hat in our building, or tucking your shirt in, or it doesn't have to be, a client issue or something. It could be the smallest of things that we're not being consistent about. Clean trucks, maintaining our vehicles, maintaining our facial hair. It really doesn't matter what it is. Do I have the courage to do that? Do I have the courage to walk up myself as a leader and manager to do that? And that's where I've seen in my past, a lot of managers that fail is they lack that courage because they have a lot of fear within themselves to take that step, to step up and do it on their own. Without getting a complaint from a manager, that's actually easier to handle. That's a complaint from a client. That's easier to handle. I can go and, hey, you have a complaint from a manager, but now I have to be the person. I have to be the person that walks up there and says, hey, John, you need to tuck that shirt in. You need to take that hat off. You need to clean yourself up before you go see your clients. That's where I think where managers have fear that we need to always be working on developing. Yeah.
What's interesting about those examples too is that the message you send internally is that those things don't matter, and that does still affect the client. You're still affecting your brand now in front of the client, because now we're people who don't wear floor savers, don't tuck in our shirts, don't trim our beards. It shows up in a multitudinous way because of that ripple effect internally.
Well, my feeling internally the ripple effect is, if I know a technician is following the little things that I can see, what's he doing in the home with the client? So if he's willing to not wear his hat or not tuck his shirt in with me, what is he possibly doing in the home with the client? So I've always had the enthusiasm to go in, have him clean himself up, make his image well for his own good. It's not just about me or the company. It's for himself too. It's for him to be good at what he's doing and be successful in the home with a client. And I have confidence now. If he's doing the small things, the little things, his truck's clean, he's stocked, he's trimmed, he looks well, he's squared away. He's going to I have more confidence he's squared away in the home. Yeah.
That is such a good point. Only by doing the small things right can we expect to do the big things right. I know when I was a novice manager, I always the argument I would make to myself was it's not worth it. It's not worth it to get into a fight about that call center agent wearing sneakers today. It's not worth it to get into the fight today. But the reality is that if they can't do the small things right, they're never going to be able to do the big things right.
Correct.
Period.
That's so good. So good. I one time had a manager come up to me when I saw that their technician was wearing a beanie. Wearing a beanie, which is like one of my pet peeves. Wearing a beanie. I mean, we're running a reputable HVAC
How about the hat
company.
backwards, Kev? How do you feel about that?
Or the hat backwards. And the manager said to me, well, I don't want to do anything to upset that person because I want them to go out and perform. So they were almost saying they didn't want to upset that person. The reality is the manager didn't want to have to deal with those emotions of the confrontation themselves.
Correct.
They were putting it on the person saying, oh, I don't want to upset them. BS. That is so untrue. It's the manager doesn't want to face that internal they don't want to deal with it with that employee and those emotions that come with it. They were unable to stand in the face of having that tough conversation with that team member, yet they were pushing it out on to the team member saying that I don't want to upset the team member. BS. You
Correct.
don't want to upset you.
Correct. Absolutely.
You need to have more courage. You need to have more courage.
How many managers over the years have we coached when we've moved them out of a service position and they wanted to become a manager, service manager, production manager, and they would make that move, but it was so difficult for them to make the move from the friendships and the relationships they had in the past. And that's where it shows up as well. I mean, they fail as managers because they're unable to make that separation that I'm now the coach, I'm now the leader in this organization. My responsibility has changed to serve you in a different way and serve you to be successful. And my position changed. So I have to be the one that makes sure that you now are the process follower or following the policy of the company, going serving clients and holding them accountable to all those things. And that's difficult for a lot of young managers to do, a lot of young leaders. So.
And you've seen some, Ray, make that transition.
Yes, some make it and some have not. And and they've moved back to a field position, and then eventually maybe move back again and try it a second time. I found it's more successful when you move them out of their existing team. Being that we had 6 locations now, you can take somebody and move them to a different store, a different center. And it's a little easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
And that they're now with a different team of people. I think that's more successful.
What if, and I'm just going to throw an example out.
Okay.
What if you were the very top performing call center agent, right? I mean, what if?
Who might that be?
You are the number one. You came in, everybody emulated you, and all of a sudden this guy, Kevin, comes along and wants to put you in charge of everybody, wants to keep you in the same location, right? We didn't have the luxury of having 6 locations.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I wanted to make that person, Amanda, the leader, the manager. And how were you, Amanda, able to make that transition? And was it overnight? Was it easy?
It was not easy. It takes a lot of fortitude, to borrow your word, Ray. It's one of the things that I know you've talked about as well is it's the difference between leadership and friendship, right? And that's why, the idea of moving a service manager from one center to another works well is because you're removing those existing relationships, the things that you feel you owe people. You're able to remove that when you can move away from that team. But when you're still in that team, it really requires a lot of personal devotion. The idea that I have to now serve a different purpose. I have to be a zealot for Service Champions. I can no longer be, an agent of myself. I am now an agent of Service Champions. One of the things we talk about a lot is surrendering, right? It's difficult. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest things that I've probably ever had to do is the idea of really, and I like to go really absolute when I do these things, these exercises with myself, but it was the idea of in order to be as successful as possible, I can no longer think of these people as my friends first, right? I want to build relationships with them. I want them to feel like they can open up to me. I want to have a fellowship, again, scope creep there, but but the reality is that I have to be a leader to them first. I owe it to my team and to Service Champions. And it's a lot of mindset, right? It's a lot of daily, hourly even, resetting my mindset so that I'm remembering these are the people that I serve, and I can't serve them if I'm treating all of them or some of them as friends.
Well, it's no different for me from being a parent. My son was not my friend. We were friendly. I loved him, but I was his father, and I had a responsibility, just like I do to my teammates and Service Champions. I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility for them, for their well-being, for their development. I can tell stories about my son, but it was about making the tough decisions. And so what I've said to some of these guys that have moved into these positions in their development is you can still be friendly. You still have a relationship. It's fun for me. I have a plaque on my wall. It's have fun. Work hard, have fun. Okay, it's just I want to enjoy work. I still want to be friendly. I want to have good relationships, but I'm still a leader. I still have to be able to make the tough decisions every day that move the process along, move the company along.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
What a great way to put it, Amanda. When you said I have to be a zealot, I mean, and that whole transition from, you almost have to change your selfishness into selfless.
Yes.
And almost surrender, because it's difficult to the organization as that's who I serve now. It's just so powerful. You also said something, Ray, I want to just touch on, because I think you just said a black swan moment. We just had a black swan moment. Now, a black swan moment, ladies and gentlemen, is when it's just rare. It's just rare. How often do you see a black swan? Very rare. Okay? What you just said is, and this is a question that I had to ask myself early on with my children and my sons in particular, both was, does my son need another friend? Or does he need a father? He's got a lot of friends. He's got a lot of friends. I'm going to be friendly with my son, is what I think I heard you say.
Love, fun, friendly, enjoy. Absolutely.
Someone has to be the father. And what the father means a lot of times is you've got to bring truth. You got to bring truth to a situation. And I'll be the first one to admit, a lot of times my kids don't like the truth. So guess who they don't like? Because dad brings the truth. Dad brings the truth. And a lot of times my children don't like the truth. Now, I, as the father, have to be responsible and make sure I'm bringing the truth in a pragmatic way. I can't be emotional. I have to bring truth in a very loving way.
Correct.
Because if I'm bringing truth in emotional, pounding on them, that just defeats the purpose.
Correct.
So my job as the father is absolutely correction, bring the truth, yet do it in a way that is that leads with love.
Correct.
And it sounds like we got to do the same thing as leaders.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I can tell you, having been a petulant child and a petulant employee in the past, we're always thankful to get the truth. All progress starts with the truth.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. I feel like someone in this room said that too.
Two Black Swan moments in a matter of 60 seconds. Can we just go back that all progress begins when you tell the truth? Yeah, that's so good. Hey, Amanda, you said something about courage. Because we're on courage. You said courage is a mindset.
I feel so, yeah.
Courage is a mindset. What does that mean? What does that mean? Can you expand a little bit more on that?
I think Ray probably said it best, jumping off the side of the pool. It's the mindset that to grow, you have to keep pushing yourself. You have to keep pushing your boundaries.
So you only okay getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, you have to get on the skinny branches.
Yeah.
If you're green, you're growing. I find that you have to convince yourself a lot sometimes. I definitely give myself a lot of pep talks to do things that are courageous. And that's mindset. It's the mindset that in order to grow, I must do big things. I must do things that scare me. It's the only way you're going to grow.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
You also said something earlier that just a second ago, I should say, that I want to expand on it. And you just said, I got to get out there on the skinny branches. And why is it that I want to get out on the skinny branches? It's because why?
That's where the good fruit is.
That's where the good fruit is. So good. The fruit is on the skinny branches. 3 Black Swan moments. How many can we have in one recording? This is awesome.
Well, she also said, if you're green, you're growing. If you're red, you're rotting.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought that was really good too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people understand that, but something that was said in our company many years ago. And when you're green, you're growing, you're learning, you're developing, you're hungry. And the analogy is that, it's a tomato. When it's green, it's growing. Once it turns red, it's now in the eating phase. It's in a rotting phase. If you don't eat it pretty soon, it's going to fall off and die, So the analogy is stay green. Always stay green.
And if I may expound on that, part of staying green is being open to making mistakes. Doing courageous things will sometimes result in mistakes, but that's why it's important that you stay green. Stay in the phase where you're okay with making mistakes. The more that you fail, the more you'll succeed. Very important.
Little precursor to our 3rd episode of Fellowship.
Yes, I know.
Is be a manager that is okay with your team members making mistakes. And if your team members know that you're okay with them making mistakes, they will run through a freaking wall for you. Creating fellowship. Again, stay tuned to episode 3. It's coming. It's coming. Now, though, we're on courage. Now we're on courage. And I want to talk about a situation, Amanda, that you and I had
Speaking of me being a petulant employee.
So we had a situation, Amanda and I, pretty early on in our career together, where I had put her in a role of leading, managing, running a department probably in her mid-20s. Mm-hmm. Mid-20s, like early. She's in charge of 15, 20 people. And I had a ton of faith in her because of who she is. And one day, Amanda decides to come in to our company with purple hair.
And it looked so good, you guys. I'm just here to say it looked great.
Purple hair.
Definitely stood out.
Now, I had to go in and do a lot of deep breathing exercises in my office. And I will tell you, I had put this person in position. I believed in Amanda. I knew who she was going to be. And now she's coming and leading the organization or leading her group of people with purple hair. Now, I have nothing against purple hair. I just know that everybody's going to be looking to Amanda as the leader, and they're going to be following her lead. And we were looking to run a professional organization, mm-hmm. right? We had dress codes. We were professional, and I just felt Amanda was kind of stepping out of the boundaries a little bit.
Yes.
Right?
I can speak to that if you want.
Yeah, I'd love you to. She was still showing up on time.
Exactly.
She was still doing a great job.
So for managers out there who have top performers that are pushing the envelope, I know I can speak personally that I felt like I was in a position where I was in a leadership role. I was doing a great job. I really felt like I was contributing to the company. But one of the things I said earlier is that I had to be a zealot of service champions. And what I was failing to do was thinking about the example that I was setting for all of the people who were following me, as well as the lateral managers who are looking at me as their peer. I felt like, I had maybe earned the ability to push the envelope a little bit. Like it was okay because I was a top performer that I did, push on Kevin's soft spot that way, that I took advantage of the fact that I was in a position where I was indispensable. As a leader, especially as a leader, it is your job to lay down the law and then lead that example as well. I find that one of the things that as a top performer I would do is I would look for the margins in the rules. Where is it that I can push the envelope without actually breaking the rules? The rule book said that I had to have hair of a. Oh God, I'm trying to remember exactly what it said now, but it basically didn't say that I couldn't have purple hair. You ever had a call center agent or a comfort advisor or somebody who's saying, well, it doesn't say that my pants have to be blue, even though you've provided me uniforms with blue pants, or it doesn't say that I can't wear a company t-shirt. It says don't wear a non-company t-shirt. It's like, okay, well, that's not the spirit of the rule, right? It's not the spirit of Service Champions. It's not the spirit of the brand that we promote and that we represent. And so as a top performer, I felt like I could, again, push that envelope, but it's not in the spirit of what I needed to do as a leader. Go ahead, Kevin, take it away.
No,
Yeah.
Well, going back to that story.
Yes.
I was faced with a decision, and I was faced with courage. Mm-hmm. And it came up. And and it constantly comes up. It's almost like we build this beautiful garden and then weeds start to pop up. In this case, it was purple weed. It was a purple weed. It was a purple weed, not purple weed. It was purple. A purple weed. And it's my job as the leader, I got to go pull the weeds out. If I want to keep this garden beautiful, I have to make sure I go out, take action, and pull out the weeds. And a lot of times when you're dealing with people, the pulling the weeds is having that difficult conversation, what I like to refer to as that crucial conversation, where I have a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of stress. And why? well, is Amanda going to quit? God, I know she's got a great future here. I know is she going to react against me? Is she going to file a lawsuit against me because of the purple hair? Whatever crazy notion or crazy lie that I'm telling myself. Because as a manager, I believe that I've got to do a great job managing the story I tell myself in order for me to have courage and go have that conversation. So what did I do? I went and had that conversation with her.
I can tell you today, folks, my hair is decisively brown.
Yes. And it was liberating. It was freeing when I had that conversation with her. She understood it. She got it. The conversation was around the example. Mm-hmm. She got it. She knew. Right, Amanda?
Top performers want the truth.
Mm.
They want the truth. They want the feedback.
So good.
Sometimes it hurts a little because my hair did look really good, you guys. But we want the truth. We do.
So, Amanda, now that you are in your position and you have to manage others in the same way this story rolled out for you and Kevin, mm-hmm. You're in the position now to have these conversations. Does it ever end?
It doesn't. Again, top performers, all performers, right? I think all people want to have that individualistic mindset of, what can I do to stand out, or what am I going to do to push the boundaries a little bit today? Sometimes mistaking it for courage, right?
We had a salesman just yesterday where mm-hmm. Mark is going through a process with everybody saying, okay, we're all unbreakable. And he's going to every salesperson, you're unbreakable, unbreakable, unbreakable. We had somebody in the room didn't want to say it. He just wasn't going to say it. So he finally said, I'm non-breakable. There's always that person. There's always somebody in the crowd, in the company. And so when I'm listening to your explanation mm-hmm. with your story, it reminds me of, for all young managers and leaders, is this never ends. It's something I've always said that's like a continual, it's a battle. It rages forever. Mm-hmm. And who loses the battle is the person who gives up first. Mm-hmm. And so I have to always had to be and teach the young managers coming up that they have to persevere, that they can't give up because you're going to have to stay strong, because there's always going to be somebody not tucking their shirt in. There's always going to be somebody with a dirty truck, and there's always going to be somebody who wants their hair to be purple.
I know it. I think what I took away from my conversation with Kevin that I share with my managers too is one of the things that you can let these people know is it's not what people say to your face. It's what they're saying behind your back. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter with the conversation that Kevin has with me. It's what he is then going to say about me to Ray and mm-hmm. to other people that are going to help my path mm-hmm. forward. It's what matters it's what is said in those rooms mm-hmm. and in those conversations that really ends up mattering the most.
Wow.
What do I want people saying about me mm-hmm. when I'm not around?
Wow.
So every morning, if I'm a manager, I can wake up and think about the opportunities I have to shape people's lives by telling them the truth. Mm-hmm. So every morning is opportunity. What opportunities do I have to shape the team members that I lead through conversations I have with them? Because like you said, Ray, the weeds never stop.
Never.
Damn it. Mm-hmm. I get my garden beautiful. I just want it to be beautiful forever. No, the weeds are going to come up.
Popping up again.
So every day there's an opportunity to have those crucial conversations. And then you can feel satisfaction at the end of the day, knowing the results, knowing the people that you touched that made a difference for themselves personally, for their families. So it's almost like every single day, wake up and be thinking about, okay, what opportunities, if I'm a leader, what opportunities do I have today to have conversations that are going to transform lives? Good, some of them tough, mm-hmm. some of them inspiring. Mm-hmm. It's like that conversation with the salesperson where you just bring them into your office and just have a conversation with them to find out if everything's okay.
Correct.
We've talked about it on a past podcast where if they're struggling, maybe they've gone 0 for 10, and you bring them in and you talk to them and you just ask them how they are. And is there anything you could do to help them? Taking that serving mentality that Amanda talked about, and then they go out and they all of a sudden have this success. Your conversation, the care and the concern that you shared, just what I like to do, that just created money. That just created revenue for the organization. Whereas if you failed to have that conversation as a manager, if you failed to have that courage, you're leaving money on the table.
And most of those conversations aren't much of a conversation. It's actually just listening. It's just opening the conversation up, bringing them in, letting them have time with you, a cup of coffee, and they can unload what's ever bothering them. Sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's external. But that's what I've always found. It's just listen. They just needed somebody to listen to them. There's rarely an issue. There's really a huge concern of any kind. And yeah, you always said, you just created money. You created money. You created success. You created a positive process for somebody and help them out. So I always love that.
Yeah. And what you're saying, Ray, about listening, again, stay tuned for episode 3 coming because that's all about fellowship.
Correct.
How to create fellowship, how to create somebody that will run through a wall for you. It is around some little secrets that we're going to talk about with regards to listening. It's coming. Episode 3. We're still on episode 1 though. All right. Courage. Okay. Well, so let's say you're a manager. Okay. Let's say you're a manager. Can you develop courage? Meaning, let's say you're the lion in The Wizard of Oz, right? Let's just say you're the lion. Can the lion create courage?
I'd give you an emphatic yes on that one. The lion, for anyone who's watched the movie recently, the lion doesn't actually get his courage from the wizard. It's not something you get overnight. It's something he develops over his adventures with Dorothy and friends.
You spoiled the story for me.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. But yeah, you create and develop courage through your experiences.
So go back to that though. The lion gets the courage through
his experience.
His experiences.
Yeah.
Okay.
He got a Medal of Valor from the wizard, if anyone is curious.
That's so good. Yeah, there's really 3 things in my experience, and 3 ways that I think a manager that may be struggling, that may be more like the lion in The Wizard of Oz, than that firm, strong manager that they need to be. And there's really 3 things I feel you can do. And number 1 is do hard things. Learn to do hard things. We've talked about a bunch of hard things. We've talked about having those crucial conversations. As much as you can, do hard things. That also relates to the cold plunge I did this morning, right? Because I'm a constant work in progress, much like you both are. So I'm always looking to develop myself. This morning, I got into a cold plunge for 5.5 minutes at 46-degree water. What a freaking idiot, right? What a knucklehead. Who does that? Why? I want to be stronger. I want to be better. I want to be more courageous. So doing hard things is super important to building courage. The second thing you can do is make big decisions. Make big decisions. We're going to talk. That's so good. Making big decisions. And by the way, encourage, whether it be your kids or your team members, when they've made big decisions, acknowledge them for making big decisions. And the third thing is that you can do to build courage is leave things better than the way you found them. And by the way, that starts with rejecting entitlement and replacing it with gratitude. So the first one was do hard things. And we talked about doing hard things because I'm a believer that we want to build anti-fragile managers. When I say anti-fragile managers, does anything come to your mind? I see you writing there, Amanda. When I say anti-fragile managers, we want to build managers. We want to build leaders that are anti-fragile. What do I mean by that?
Well, the first thing that came to mind was, again, Ray's word of fortitude, which is having the mental strength to stand your ground, to be brave in the face of adversity. And that adversity can show up in a lot of different ways, right? It can show up in difficulties in the performance of the business. It can show up in the difficulties you have in a one-on-one with a team member in a difficult conversation. And in the steadfast way that we make big decisions, even though we fear what the consequences may be. Fortitude.
Yeah. Anything come to your mind, Ray?
Yeah, I think we go back to feel the fear and do it anyway, however you want to describe it. You say make big decisions.
Or do hard things.
Do hard things. What was the third one?
And leave things better than the way you found them.
All of those things you can think of as big things or small things, right? Mm-hmm. It could be pushing in a chair, leave it as it was. Make sure you leave a room, push your chair in, make your bed, whatever. If they're small things, and I think the small things in all these categories, making the big decisions, the way they develop their courage is they're successful in making first the small ones. They got to make a lot of small ones. And the small decisions are the tucking the shirt and having decision, the decisiveness and clarity to go out and make those little decisions and have the courage to take those actions. And I think that builds their courage after they see themselves being successful with the little things, the small decisions, the small actions, and then the bigger ones become natural to them. It becomes they become better at making the bigger decisions and taking the larger actions.
So good. Yeah. And staying on do hard things. One of the things we want to encourage our people to do is do hard things. Role practicing is a perfect example of do hard things. And we want to encourage our people to role practice, whether it be a call center agent, an installer, role practicing the process they go through when they're meeting with a client, a service technician, a salesperson, doesn't matter. Role practice is the way that you get out of and role practicing in front of your peers is doing hard stuff.
It's the hardest.
It's the hardest.
It's the hardest.
Yeah. And I know you have a story, Ray, where how you look at when you go into one of your locations and you go and you monitor role practice, right?
Correct. It's called a fishbowl.
A fishbowl.
I do fishbowls.
Yeah. Which, could you explain that a little bit?
Well, it's part of a role practice process of a training program that's called Where the Magic Happens. And the final of the training is for them to have to arrange the chairs in the room in a circle, and then randomly select them to have to actually go up and role practice their scripting that they write themselves. They create themselves. They have to get up and they have to get up there and show me that they have written the script and they can perform it well. And I've not necessarily done the work with them. Their managers have gone through the process with them to help them write these scripts and practice them weeks between that I ever show up. So my process is really to show up and see how they're doing, assess how they're doing. But in reality, I'm assessing the leader. I'm assessing how well is the leader going out and taking these initiatives and effectively rolling them out and holding them accountable to come in on a regular basis. One gets up and knocks it out of the park. Another one gets up and stands there frozen. So it tells me, and they're all going to, again, nothing's perfect. Some are going to challenge, but I can always read the room and know that, okay, this manager's really doing well. I mean, 80% of these guys hit it out of the park versus another center, maybe 3 or 4 out of 20 did well. So I'm in there assessing the leader of the organization, not necessarily the staff, the tech, the installer, the salesperson. So it's a wonderful way. And by the way, the managers know it. I don't do it like secretly. They're very aware of who I'm assessing. So
Love that. So what I'm hearing you say is, yes, we want to encourage our people to do hard things. We want to encourage our managers to do hard things.
absolutely.
In the case of role practicing, which is a perfect example of, to me, it's like getting in the batting cage for baseball. It's like taking that ground ball every single day. It's tough to do. Well, it's easy to do. It's easier not to do. So the role though of the manager, of the leader, is to be a coach, right? To coach, which is to encourage, to correct, versus being a caretaker. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You know, I know you gave it your best shot. I know you gave a role practice. You gave a great attempt at it. So that's a biggie right there.
Yes.
Is the manager, is the leader, am I being a coach or am I being a caretaker when it comes to doing hard things?
It's accountability, right? My responsibility is to hold them accountable to doing the hard work they're supposed to be doing. And my hard work is holding them accountable to make sure they're doing the hard work. They're following the process. You talked about getting in your little cold bath, and how you
Cold plunge.
sometimes aren't really, you put
What
it
do you mean
off.
sometimes? Every time. Every time it never gets easy. I'm
put a
scared
toe.
to death, scared as hell to get in
You
it.
drop a toe in first and say, I don't know about this.
No, I just go in.
You just go in?
I just go in.
You go in. You have to.
I procrastinate. I dance around it for a
Dance
little
around
bit.
it. But you see, that happens in role practice too. When I go in and they're supposed to get started and I can see the room, and it's no different. It's no different. You can see them procrastinating, getting started, getting going, asking lots of questions instead of getting started. So me as the leader of that group, no, get in, jump in, let's go now. So it's the same.
And did it take you courage to say, jump in, let's go?
Of course.
And did you feel fear?
I always do. That's what I'm saying. The fear never goes away.
God, you even feel fear, Ray? I thought you didn't. That's good to know.
Oh, no.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. We said the another way you can build courage is to make big decisions. I will tell you, one of the really neat things that I've learned in my life is the importance of getting people to think and think on their own. I think about my son and the decision he made to leave his Division I baseball program and come back and play baseball at junior college because he knew as a freshman he wasn't going to play that much. I acknowledge him for the big decision, which was really to bet on himself. Because you come back to junior college, you're starting over. You're starting over.
Right.
And he had to make that decision to leave Division I, even though he had posted on Instagram that he's going to St. Mary's and he was there. He made the team. He played there all fall. So when he came home from Christmas, he said, Dad, the coach told me I'm going to get about 10 to 15 at bats. And I think I'm going to come home and I want to get 150 at bats.
Wow.
So he made that. And so my job as the leader is to acknowledge, our jobs is to acknowledge where we see people in their lives make big decisions and go right to them and acknowledge them for it, because then they're going to want to make another one. Then they're going to want to make another one. Well, what's ended up happening is Brendan, my son, who never hit a single home run in high school, has now hit 29 9 home runs. 15, 14, 26 home runs in the last year, just over a year and a half that he's been at his junior college. And he just got a scholarship to play baseball at Gonzaga. I say that not to impress anybody, not because he did it. There's nothing I did. He did it. But I say it to impress upon all of us that when we see our team members make big decisions, when we see our team members make that decision to move out of their house from their parents, when we see our team members make that decision to go buy a house, oh man, encourage them. Mm-hmm. Like that's why, because encourage, funny that the word courage is in encourage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they had to be courageous mm-hmm. to do that. So encourage them to do that, because it's so critical, in my opinion, that we have 3 choices. Do we want to build dependent team members, independent team members, or interdependent team members? That's what always goes on in my mind. And there's a big difference between the 3 of them when it comes to making big decisions. And my children, it's the same thing. Do I want to build dependent team members that, hey, Amanda, just tell me what to do, because they're so dependent. They're dependent on me. No. Do I want to build independent team members? Ones that say, I don't need you, Amanda. I don't need you, Amanda. I got it on my own. No, you want to build what's called interdependent team members. Ones that say, hey, Amanda, I've put together this plan for how I think I can increase my MVP memberships and hit our target to 30 per month. I wrote up this plan. What do you think? So you want to encourage them, because they just they put the plan together. They had to think to put the plan together, and then they still want to run it by you and get counsel. That is interdependent team members. And that's what I'm always looking to build, is mm-hmm. interdependent children as well. My mm-hmm. kids, interdependent ones that say, hey, Dad, this is what I put together. What do you think? Mm-hmm. And that's what, to me, making big decisions is all about. Mm-hmm. It's getting them to think on their own, interdependently, our team members. Mm-hmm. And the final thing about being courage and can it be built is always looking to leave things better than you found them. Now, that could be a place. Mm-hmm. That could be a relationship. That could be a thing. Mm-hmm. But you said it, Ray. It's the little things. Mm-hmm. One of the things you taught me was, whenever we're done with a meeting in a conference room, what did you teach me about the chairs?
You put the chairs back in position. That comes probably from my restaurant background. Man, I was, that just was embedded in me, that you always left the dining room, the meeting room. You put it back together. You put things back as they were. You wanted to be ready for the next group. There's somebody else coming in behind you. There's somebody else walking in that room that's going to utilize that restaurant dining room, our meeting room, whatever the room is. Somebody's going to use it. So what's their first impression when they walk into that room? How are they feeling about their teammates? So they walk in a room and it's a disaster area, coffee cups on the table, whatever, garbage, the parts and pieces you were practicing with this morning, whatever it might be. How's your teammate feeling about you? So it's respect for the next people. It's self-respect, leaving it that way. It's also having people have respect for you the way you left the room. So that's always it's just a small detail, but it has a big impact.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
I love that, Ray. I was making faces at Kevin just now. I've never thought of it that way. I've always thought of it as a discipline that has to do with the pride of your workspace, but it really is also the impression you give others mm-hmm. on how you leave things. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And that last one, it's getting rid of entitlement. Leaving things better than the way you found them is getting rid of entitlement and thinking that, oh, someone else will come in and do it. Or I deserve to not have to be able to push the chairs back in. That person can do it. No, always be a value creator. Like, how am I creating value with this space? How am I creating value with this relationship? Always leaving relationships better than the way that you found them, through your words, through encouragement, is really, really one of the final way that you can look to develop and build courage. So I think we're about ready to wrap up episode 1, team.
Absolutely. Been fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think we got 3 or 4 black swans in the matter of 60 seconds. So if you're just joining this podcast now, or somehow you ended up at the end of the podcast, go back.
Rewind.
Because there are so many great black swans in this episode. I want to thank you, Ray, and thank you, Amanda. I know we're going to be right back here and doing episode 2 here in a second. And just to reiterate, episode 2 is take responsibility, which is a biggie. But we're wrapping up this one, which is have courage. And as we talked about, we are works in progress. We are always looking to make ourselves better. We are always looking to build a bigger future. And so when it comes to even courage, when it comes to constantly developing ourselves, it is all about looking to be better tomorrow than we are today. And that's the same way that I look at life, which is always make your future bigger than your past. So to wrap up episode 1 around courage, here's to a bigger future. Thank you, team.